Designers and Builders, where design meets construction. We explore groundbreaking trends and talk to the pros reshaping our spaces. For your dream home, workspace, or just great design inspiration, subscribe to Designers and Builders. Hey, welcome to a brand new episode of Designers and Builders podcast. This is your host, Steve Larosiliere. Today's guest is Jonathan Webster from JD Stairs. How you doing, Jonathan?
I'm fantastic. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you. Why don't you tell us about what's the origin story?
JD Stairs. Well, it's kind of a family business. We kind of grew up in construction. We're originally from Canada, Calgary, Alberta, Canada. Kind of cold weather like in Chicago, where you're from.
Yeah.
And, my dad was framing houses up there and had a bunch of young kids. I got 7 brothers and sisters. And I remember the last year that we lived there in Canada, it was freezing cold, but my dad still had to find a way to work to put food on the table, right? So he goes down to the Army surplus store and he buys this enormous parachute that they like drop tanks out of, the big airplanes or whatever.
Yeah.
And he puts it over top of the house that he's building and puts 4 propane heaters in there, and it blows up this huge parachute. And he's underneath there with hammer and nail putting a house together, framing a house.
Oh,
That was the last house that he framed in Canada, and he was like, you know what? We gotta find something else. I don't want to do this anymore, So
he changed your family history.
yeah, we went polar opposite. We went from frigid cold to like 120 degrees in the summer, and very, very different change. I remember it was a struggle, certainly when we first moved here. So we moved here when I was 9, and we came here in the summertime, and it's 120 degrees. It feels like in a sauna. We're just, we're not used to that. But there's plenty of work here. Vegas has been, growing for a lot of years.
Yeah.
And so shortly after we moved here, he kind of fell in with a stair company here in town, and he started learning how to do stairs and rails. And from the time I was a little kid, I had just kind of been in this stair industry. So I went out with him after school, evenings, weekends kind of thing, and I kind of learned the industry. And I remember one summer, I was 12 years old, and all the family went back to Canada for the summer. They went to hang out, and my uncle's got a ranch up there. He runs cattle, and so they were spending the summer up there on the cattle ranch. And I stayed, and I told my dad, well, I want to earn some money, so I'll stay and work with you every day. So I think I got paid $5 a day for 10 or 12 hours, however many hours that my dad was working, And so worked all day long with him. And the owner of that stair company, when I was 12 years old, told me, he said, hey, if you ever want to build stairs, you have a job. I'm just letting you know right now. It's like, oh, okay. So I kind of like had that in the back of my head. So when I got older, 17, 18, was kind of tired of high school and didn't want to study anymore, I called up this owner of the stair company. He said, hey, remember you told me I'd have a job if ever I wanted it? And he said, yeah, I remember. I said, okay, I'm ready. So I went to work when I was 17, full time with this stair company.
You dropped out?
Yes, I guess you could say that. Yeah. So they had switched to a block schedule, and I was really hating school. And so I told my parents, and I said, look, I got a job. I'll go to work. I'm really not into school anymore.
Yeah.
And so I got them to agree. And so I got my GED. So got done, out of school, went to work full time. So according to them, I was the youngest full-time installer they had ever had.
Wow.
But it's what, I was kind of enjoying it. I've since gone back and got a degree and stuff, but it took me 20 years before I was interested in school again, to do that.
Yeah.
But it was kind of the path that I was on at that point in time. So those early days was learning how to install stairs, and was out there, it was a piece rate job. So they'd give you a job, it pays $150, and however long it takes you, that's how long it takes you.
Yeah.
So they didn't care if you stayed till midnight or 5 days or whatever it took, because it was a fixed cost amount, which is a great way for me to learn, because I could work a little harder, stay a little later, own those skills, get better. It promotes, speed and production and learning. And so
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that a lot, and it helped me progress faster in my skill set, and then kind of later on down the road, I just I had this vision that I wanted to have my own company, and I had let the owner of that company know. I said, "Hey, just so you know, I'm working on my contractor's license, and I want to have my own company at some point in time." And he wasn't sure how he felt about that, but I assured, well, I'm sure we'll be in different markets. They were doing production homes. I'm like, I'll do custom homes, and we'll be in different markets. So he actually
Have
signed
you
up
worked there?
about 5 years,
Okay.
and so I let him know, and he signed my contractor's application, and I was getting the process rolling. And I was approached by one of the builders. This was in 2005.
Yeah.
And I was approached by one of the builders that he knew me because I did a bunch of work for him. And he had kind of heard through the grapevine that I was getting my license. The company I was working for was just swamped. They were way behind. These houses were complete, carpeted, painted, and no stair rails because they couldn't get the stair guys to come because they were so busy. No fault of the stair company. There was just so much work. They just couldn't get there. And he said, no, we'll give you all the work you can handle if you will come do our stairs. I was like, ooh.
Wow.
And he's like, we'll also front all the money you need to open up the shop and get all your equipment. And I was like,
That sounds like a great idea.
yeah, certainly not what I'd planned and didn't want to, step on the toes of the company I was working for. But I went and grabbed the boss and said, "Hey, I just got an offer I can't refuse." So I feel kind of bad about it, but I just can't say no to this. And so then that was it. So I didn't even have my license quite yet. And so for the first few months, they paid me through their payroll system while I waited for my contractor's license to come through.
Yeah.
And it was just rock and roll. But they provided a steady income because it was a track home builder,
Yeah.
and so it allowed us to know, hey, I got X amount of money coming in, and I could bank on that. And I mean, it was really great.
And that was 20 years ago.
Started. That was 20 years ago. Yes, that was '05, 20 years ago.
Wow. Congrats. 20 years.
Thank you.
We started in '05. That was a really interesting time to start a business, right? It was like right before the housing bubble.
Yeah, yeah. So it was a little weird for us to go through that, but we hadn't grown very big because we were new, so it was almost better in that sense. If you're an established company and you're big, and then all this work drops off, you're having to lay off all these people. And so because we were only two or three guys at that point in time, my brother came over, he started with me. And so we had the two of us. And then at that point in time, actually 5 members of my family worked for that other stair company.
Oh, wow. Including your dad.
Yes, including my dad. My dad, two brothers, and my mom.
Wow.
And so my brother and I started together. And shortly after, everyone except for my dad came over. He went and did a different venture down in California. He was building houses.
Okay.
But so I had the four brothers and my mom here. My mom kind of ran the office, and
Yeah.
we just all started working together building stairs.
Wow.
And so we were able to get through that, but I mean, barely. I mean, we were, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks without pay. And I would just ask the guys, hey, I can give you, $250. Well, that gets you through the week. And it was tough. It was really tough.
I think that's the part that people don't really talk about in terms of business, right? Like all of the sacrifices that you make, for your team, for yourself, for, this corporation that, you have this vision for and it serves a purpose, but sometimes the market conditions don't allow it for that to happen, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's really crazy. But I always found that the biggest lessons that I've learned is you got to do whatever it takes to keep the lights on and the name on the door so that the next opportunity can come, right?
And it's good for certainly people going through that to know that they're not alone, because it seems like every business I talk to has that kind of story where at some point in time they were just barely making it and they found a way to push through. And the companies that can do that, they always are successful, but they always have that story. Even the company that we worked for, he has the story. We're in Vegas. And so at one point in time, he couldn't make payroll and he had like $500, and he went down to the casino and put $500 on Red 23 or whatever.
Wow.
10 grand, and he made payroll, and they stayed in business. And I was like, oh man.
Oh my gosh. Still wild. That's a wild story.
Yeah. So we were,
Yeah, I'm curious how many people do that.
yeah, not everyone probably has quite the access that we can just drive 10 minutes to the casino and do that.
Well, I mean, I guess everything's a risk, right? Like everything's a bet. like you're making bets all the time. You're making what back then, like how would you say you've grown as a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Well, when you start out in business, not everybody, some people kind of have a business plan and they understand business, but certainly in the trades world, when a tradesman starts a business, he just thinks, I know how to build something, and so I'm just going to start the business, right? And has no idea about all the business aspect of things. And you think all of that's really easy, and then you find out it's not so easy. And a lot of times that you're not that good at that portion of it.
Yeah.
So I learned over the years the things that I wasn't good at and how to supplement the business with people that were good at that. But certainly took some time. And I was blessed in that my mom came on right away and she kind of handled the money. I'm not good at the money and I don't even, it doesn't excite me. I don't want to deal with that. I get excited to build things,
And do
watching.
good work. And do good
Yeah.
work.
Yeah, for sure. Watching the dollars and cents and balancing a checkbook, that just doesn't excite me. So finding someone who's better at that and that maybe that excites them. And so someone you can trust kind of handling the money end, if that's not your end, then kind of let that go to the person that's good at that. But so for me, I learned that if I could bring the right people around the table to, supplement where my weaknesses were, and find people that were better than myself in a lot of areas and listen to those people. That's how we've certainly grown and got better, is saying, hey, okay, I'm not this great at this, but let's get some people around the table. Let's talk about this. And, maybe what's the competition doing, or what are we struggling with, or what does the market look like? And
Yeah.
then you get these 4 or 5 people and they've got a couple good ideas, and all of a sudden now we've got a good direction for the company. And that's been super beneficial to be able to listen to the people around me and get their insights.
That's great. How did you start finding your niche, like your customer base? And how did you,
Um,
well, and I think one of the things is like, how'd you find a niche and like, how did you find out what products they want?
in the market in Vegas, it's been growing, so there's always been work in the custom home market, and so I stayed in the custom home market because that's kind of what I knew. So I just started with what I knew. And then, we started as woodworkers. We were building wood stairs and rails, and that was kind of our thing. And what happened for us is maybe between 6 months to a year of being in business, we had someone approach us that said, hey, I want a welded handrail and kind of ornamental metal. And I told the guy, well, I don't know how to do that. We're woodworkers. I can put some metal pieces in with our woodwork, but I don't know how to weld. And he was kind of like, well, it was a friend of a friend. And so he was like, I really want you guys to do it. And here's the other guy's price. So if you can do it for that, then I'll just pay you guys to do it. And we kind of like, well, we don't know what we're doing, but
Price?
for us, yeah,
Yeah.
starting out, it was like a $20,000 stair, and we were doing like $2,000 and $3,000 stairs. So for so that,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it really like pushed you. It pushed you, right?
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we go down to the welding store, we buy a welder, we bring it back. We have no idea how to use it. We're not very good at, this is pre-YouTube days. Otherwise, we'd just been watching some YouTube videos on how to do it.
Yeah.
But we just turned the thing on and start playing with it and kind of made a mess of a lot of welds at the very beginning. But
Mhm.
that guy really forced us to say, hey, maybe we could do this. And a lot of the custom homes had welded stairways in there, custom handrails. So from that day on, the welding just started to take off. And it created, this culture of who JD Stairs was. And we weren't just a woodworking company and we weren't a metalworking company, but we were both put together because we were carpenters that learned how to weld,
Yeah.
which is probably a better way to do it. Carpenters kind of love, you kind of massage that wood and you sand it and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and then sometimes metalworkers are, I'm going to take a big hammer and make it fit kind of thing. And so we came from the carpentry mindset where it was the beauty of what you're creating and
Yeah,
brought the metalworking into that.
for sure.
And massaging those two together is kind of what created the niche for us. Certainly in the early days, nobody was doing that 20 years ago where you could go to one company and they did the woodwork and the metalwork and the glass and stainless steel kind of thing.
So the craftsmanship in the carpentry really sort of lent itself over to the metal.
Yes, yes. It
Yeah.
was helpful for us to look at metalwork kind of the way we looked at woodwork, where we're like, no, 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 let's grind it, let's sand it, let's make it a little smoother like we would a piece of wood, which a lot of the metalworking companies don't do. They just weld it, grind it, get it close, and and that's close enough.
What was the best investment you made in the past couple of years in your business?
So we bought a 3D scanning laser. And a lot of people are using them now. You know, a lot of real estate uses them, and it kind of allows you to walk through the home. We bought it for measuring purposes, and it has absolutely transformed, you know, the way we do business. It used to be you come out with a tape measure and maybe a laser shooter or something and get the measurements. And we actually thought we were getting 100% accurate
Yeah.
measurements, you know. But now when you walk in and you 3D scan a room and you import the point cloud into AutoCAD software, and then you start looking at walls and stuff and you find out, oh, well, this wall's not square to this wall, and this wall has a bow in it, and this one's doing all these things, and you can see all of that in real time in this point cloud. And now we can say, okay, well, I would have measured at this point with my tape measure, but because I have this scan, I'm going to measure exactly where my stair is going to hit, and that's a half inch different than it was over here because the concrete dips down.
Yeah.
It allows us to know all of that information and fabricate with 100% confidence that what we fit is going to fit when we take it out to the house, and that has been huge for our company.
That's really cool. Yeah, and so you're saving time because you're less likely to have to make adjustments on site, and you can
Yeah.
like 100% build on site and then install effectively.
And it makes us a better subcontractor too, because we can tell our builders, hey, are you aware that your floor is three
That
quarter inch out of level? Yeah.
your wall dips in a quarter of an inch here.
A
Yeah.
lot of times they're like, no, they're like, yeah, you kind of got a problem here. And then it allows them to fix that, makes them look better as a builder, you know, and so it makes us a better subcontractor. We're mostly worried about our stuff, but it certainly brings to light some issues that they might have on their end.
It really requires a tight team to get everything right because, even if you're installing whatever you're installing, if the person before you didn't do the best job, like it really messes up in a home or in a space, right?
Yeah, it all transfers across to the next person in line. And certainly that's one thing that we've constantly, we talk about, you know, the Toyota manufacturing system, and there was a red button on that fabrication line that anybody could hit that red button and stop everything if they see something that's not good enough. So in our company, we're always like, you know, hit that red button, and want to make sure to empower all of my people to say, hey, at any point in time, if something is not right, hit that button. I said, let's stop, let's figure it out.
Are you into lean manufacturing?
Yeah, we're not great at it, but certainly into it. I love to learn about it and try to implement a little bit at a time, but we're
Like the
certainly not.
continuous improvement one and like
Yeah.
the clean workspace, that kind of mentality. Yeah, yeah.
So there's a book called 2 Second Lean.
Oh my God, I was literally about to say that. Yeah.
Oh,
You do the morning meetings and everything?
we do them right after lunch
Okay.
instead of in the morning. But, you know, his idea of, hey, let's just do 2 second
Gary
increments.
Akers. Gary
Yes.
Akers.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, Paul Akers. Is it Paul Akers?
Paul Akers up
Paul
in
Akers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Washington. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually sent him he does video chat because he doesn't like to read emails, and so I sent him a video chat maybe 2 months ago, asked him a couple questions, and he responded with a lot of insights. And I'm like, you know, this guy travels all over speaking now, and he just shot an email right back to me and gave me some thoughts and ideas. I'm like, oh, this is great, super nice guy.
I had another person that introduced me to him. His name is Nick Price from Valley View Lumber Company in British Columbia. And yeah, he's like devotee of him. Like he went to Japan with him
Oh wow.
and like is continuously improving. And he was like, I have all the time in the world right now. Like I was like, oh my God. It's
Yeah,
hard
so
to
we
keep up unless you're in a community of people that do it.
yeah, yeah, we joined a few years back, maybe 2018. We joined the Stair Manufacturers Association. That's actually what's on my hat right now.
Okay, okay, okay.
Um, and they are a bunch of stair builders nationwide across the country. Um, we kind of joined that. They help with building codes so that, you know, they educate on understanding the codes. But what I didn't know when I joined, well, actually the first time I ever went to a shop tour, it was about lean manufacturing.
Okay.
They sent out a little thing that says, hey, we're going to the shop. He's going to teach us about lean manufacturing. Really piqued my interest, and I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go check this thing out. So I fly into Cleveland, no, or Cincinnati. I think it was Cincinnati. Went to visit a stair company there, and They had everything all dialed in and no extra tools and no extra processes. And it was very eye opening for me. And it got me into this world of all these other businesses. And so since then, we've been able to travel around the country. They try to do maybe 2 to 3 shop tours a year, which someone opens up their shop. We all get to fly in and they walk us around their shop and they tell us how they do things and, little hiccups that they've had along the way that maybe help us not make the same mistakes. And
Yeah.
we get to see how they do something and go, oh man, I'm doing this backwards. I should be doing it the way these guys are doing it. And so it's been very good for the lean manufacturing and for improvements that we might not have thought of on our own.
Yeah, that's great. How so describe your team. So if you're the, president, CEO, like what does the org structure of your team look like?
So we also are huge proponents of the book Traction. I don't know if you've ever read that book.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay, so we try to keep the org chart or accountability chart, as they would call it, in that kind of structure, and it changes depending on the growth of the company. But there is a president who kind of runs all the. He's really good at all the logistical kind of stuff, and he's owned and sold businesses. He actually owns the stair company that I worked for
Mm,
25 years ago.
okay.
And he had since sold that company, and we just kind of bumped into him. We kept in touch over the years.
Yeah.
And so when he came on board, he had, bigger vision. He knows how companies can grow and expand. And so he took us from $8 million to $20 million, because he could see that, and
Yeah,
he's
yeah, yeah, yeah.
2018. So he's been on 7 years. And so really fueled the growth of the company. He understands business things that I don't understand. And so he's president, I'm CEO. And then we have kind of departments. We used to try and do kind of a team effort with construction, but we needed people to kind of hone their skills in a certain area. So
Mhm.
now when jobs come in, we have an estimating team and we have about five
You need
people in
with
that
people to
team.
specialize, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we tried a couple different ways, but now that they're really good at, getting the bids out and going through plans and doing takeoffs and stuff like that. So they're kind of the front end. They do all that to get the work in. And then once a job is signed, it goes to our CAD department. They do all the drawings, laser scanning, prepping all the work for us to fabricate. And then it passes to project management. We got a team of project managers that kind of get the job after we've got CAD drawings done and they run it through completion and final touch-ups and the turnover to the client. We've got about 15 people fabricating here in our facility. And
Mhm.
we've got about 50 to 60 installers that are out every day installing in different jobs. Like some of those are finishers, painters, and stainers. So maybe what do we got? About 16 of those are finishers, and the rest are installers. And so they're usually two-man teams set up on a truck with a welder and everything that they need to go out and install. So about a hundred. There are a few part-time office staffs, like a couple of the wives will come in part-time to do some administrative functions, but pretty much everybody's full-time.
Congrats, man.
It's
That's
crazy how
so
things
cool.
grow.
How did you make that decision to like what was that point when you were like, oh, you know what? I think I should probably have this guy come on and you know
Um,
how has your role changed in the process?
Allow me to kind of step out of some of the management end of things, at least on the business side. I mean, he's so much better at that than I am. And well, I knew I needed someone to help with the money. My mom had kind of handled the money, and as she was getting older and the business was getting bigger, and so it was kind of getting more than she could wrap her hands around.
Yeah.
And so I was really looking for a controller. It's like, hey, I need someone to just really be good with the money because I know that's not what I'm good at. And I reached out to Bob and said, hey, do you know anybody? I need someone to kind of handle the finances. And he said, oh, he was at a different company here in town, a cabinet company. And he'd said, well, we're actually just looking to hire one ourselves. And so he's like, I got some applications. He said, I'll just bring him by. So he came to our office and we had just bought a new facility in 2017. We moved, totally remodeled the facility. It just is gorgeous. There's all these beautiful offices and lots of space to fabricate. And so he came down and he walked around and he was like, oh, wow, this is really nice. And he dropped out the applications and then he called me the next day and said, hey, you got time for lunch? said, sure. So I went to meet him for lunch and he said, why don't you hire a president instead of a controller? I was like, a president? I never thought about that. He's like, yeah, if you hire me, I'll just be the president. That's, I'll also handle all the money. I was like, I never thought of that. Are you looking for a change? And he was looking for a change. And so that just kind of, I needed a controller, but what I got was a president. And so it's been phenomenal.
That is super cool, man. That's really awesome. So would it sound like 65 people total? Is that
We're 112 right now.
112 people? Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
Like really kind of shifting like economies and like changing communities and like paying people's livelihoods and stuff. And how are you feeling about this sort of current state of the world as it relates to your business?
That's crazy. I don't know, obviously the markets don't apply much to what we're doing in the industry, but it certainly makes people a little uneasy. So the hope is, I mean, I certainly believe that something needed to change and that we've got to kind of clean things up and get tighter. We actually feel that right now in our own business. So last year was our first down year in I think 15 years. So we saw a downturn in our own business because, the interest rates had gone up, and so houses weren't moving quite as fast, and there was a little bit of inventory. So a lot of things just kind of come into play with that.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, well, this is not where we've been for the last 15 years. It's always been grow, grow, grow. And we're just trying to keep up. We're trying to hire people as fast as possible and train. And so changing that, makes us feel a little bit differently. And we are focusing a lot on, getting leaner. Like we got a little sloppy over the last,
Yeah.
5 years of there's been plenty of work and lots of money coming in. And so we're trying to get a little bit leaner. And so the hope is that the markets will stabilize a little bit after a few months here and things will get rolling again. Is certainly our hope.
Yeah. 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 And you serve exclusively the Vegas market?
Yes, now. So that's also something that we're working on. We got licensed in Utah and we have our license coming in Arizona as well. Part of that is, we bought that laser scanner and we're finding now that it really doesn't matter where it is in the country. If we can fly out and scan it with a laser,
Yeah.
it's going to fit because we have 100% accurate data.
Yeah.
And so we've done a couple now, one in St. Louis and one in Wyoming and a couple in California. And we're just at the point where like, okay, so if the market here is tightened a little bit, which we never had to expand outside of Vegas because there's always so much work, but it has tightened a little bit. Well, let's look to a few of our neighboring communities and start serving them. So we are serving Utah and Arizona will be coming shortly.
Yeah. And so literally all you have to do is just laser a location, right? Or if it's like a production home builder, like you already have their specs, right?
Yes, so a production home, they just hold to a standard of this height and this opening, and then we can prefabricate and have stuff ready to go.
That's cool. That's very cool. Or is it your president Bud that's really KPIs and like metrics and data and efficiency and that sort of stuff, or is that like a shared responsibility?
Shared to some extent, he certainly is better at keeping the data than I am. We have our dashboard that the traction kind of helped us get, and we've got a number, maybe 20 items on that dashboard. And that helps us see the future. There's certain metrics on there as far as, how much work we've estimated versus how much work we've sold and how much work we've invoiced. And the relationship certainly between those three numbers helps us look maybe a year out, which is great to kind of tell, what we can expect about a year from now. Because our builds, most of our houses, they're anywhere from 9 months to 3 years in a build. And so when we sign a contract, we know that work usually is somewhere between 9 months and a year and a half out. And so as those contract signings go up or down, that tells us how much work we'll have, a year and a half from now.
Got it. Oh, wow. Wow. And so tell me what your day-to-day looks like?
A lot of what I do now is kind of coaching and training project managers. The project managers really are the key to a project going smoothly. So they want to make sure the drawings are done, that the site dimensions are taken care of, all the material is here, that the job's been scheduled with our fab department, that the job site's ready for us to install. So they have a lot of parts and components that they're thinking about. And if they do their job really well, then we look great, the job's smooth, and everybody's happy. So most of my time really is spent with looking at drawings that they're putting through to make sure that there's no hiccups that I might see based on my experience of install over the years, and making sure that they are looking out 2, 3, 4 months and prepping for jobs that they go smoothly.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome. So tell me, so this is a part of the podcast where you get to, we get to brainstorm and ask any business marketing advice, just get like an outside ear on your business. Like, is there anything that you need to think through, or something you want to like brainstorm about?
Well, maybe with people that you've met around it, are there any other companies that you've met that maybe the workload has shrunk a little bit and they're dealing with a little bit of a less workload, and how do they approach that? What is the best way when all of a sudden there's less work than there was last year?
Yeah. So I think there's a couple ways that folks have really approached this. The first is, use this time like yourself to get leaner, which is a great way to do it. Like, look to see where, what are things that are reoccurring charges that you need to like clean out. That's the first thing. The second thing is like really what you actually need to be doubling down is in marketing and building up. I'm assuming you have a CRM, right?
Sort of. We have created our own Google Sheet network that we use for that.
Yeah. So being able to make sure that you have all of your customer relationships all in one location, and whether it's you or whether it's Bob, just like literally calling people and checking in to see how they're doing. Like people that have given you money over the last 10 years, just like you should find out what's going on with them. Like how is business going? What are you doing? Maybe this is a time for you to throw an event, like throw a dinner, throw an event. Well, I mean, this is your 20th year. Are you planning to do a 28 year?
Haven't done yet, but it's a good idea.
When is your anniversary, the actual anniversary?
August.
Yeah, I think you could probably set up like a dinner or like a past hors d'oeuvres, and like that could be a great way for you to just like, if it's April now and the next, you know, to 4 months, 3 months, you can put together an event and you invite everybody that you've ever done business with to that event, and then use it as a business development opportunity. You'll be able to write it off. I think that's 20 years is a major deal. American made, right? Business, American manufacturers, like 112 people. Like, I mean, you could easily have a 500 to 600 person party.
That's great.
And it's just a way for you to just sort of celebrate, for yourself, like all of that you've accomplished. Like, just don't roll into your 21st year without acknowledging publicly your 20th.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point.
And then the last thing is look to see what other markets you could use. I really like your 3D scanner idea, and like potentially, like open, like maybe do a search and find out if you could maybe do a search and find out like who are your best customers in Vegas, and then who's the people that are like hiring you to do like that, giving you the most money, and then find their counterparts in all of the neighboring states, and tell them like, hey, I have this service and this is what we could do. And on a business development, and just say, here is a catalog. Do you have a catalog of your stairs?
Yeah, we got a pretty nice marketing brochure that kind of has all that stuff in it.
Yeah, so I would probably like send that over and follow up and tell them like, hey, we happy to, these are our minimums. This is what we normally do, but like happy to come out, this week to scan your projects, or, get in touch with some architects, and, whoever, right? Like big time remodelers. Cause I'm assuming your price point is fairly high, correct?
Yeah, we're on the high end for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, build a list of those people, and then even as you yourself, like I feel like you need to be in the role of, so as if your role now is training project managers, I think your role should evolve into storyteller.
Okay, that's what Bob keeps telling me. Oh man, I gotta go tell stories.
So you got to tell stories. You got to tell stories about like how you got into the business. You got to tell stories about, you know, troubleshooting. You got to, like you just need to tell
Build relationships. Like we've
relationships and
spoken
tell
of.
stories, right?
Yeah.
And just almost like if you can supercharge your I don't know, like especially have you done any restaurants?
Not for a lot of years. We did one a few years back, but it's been a while.
How big is that restaurant?
So it's a little downtown deal.
Okay, okay, good. Because I was gonna say throw it there, right? Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? Just like if it's a nice restaurant and you're proud of those stairs, like you should do it there. Like, oh yeah, we don't, and then potentially that could open up a whole other avenue. Because if you've only been doing that, like, then then you can open up commercial. You see what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah. And it's certainly something that the marketing thing and what you're saying, I think makes sense. And it's something we just haven't had to do. We've just been lucky enough that in 20 years, there's been so much work and it's been growing. And so
yeah.
we're feeling now, oh, there's this new avenue that maybe we need to get better at because we're just not good at that marketing thing.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, and especially it's kind of like you do great work, so people just keep referring you, so you don't really have to market because
Right.
you're like the best and, one of the biggest games in, right? So like, yeah, there are probably some other markets that you could be knocking on their doors for.
Right.
Commercial being one of them, like
Mhm.
contacting designers and architects on the commercial end, like that could be a big thing, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think those are have you played around with Zero Metal?
No, what's that?
It's a liquid metal. So you could and you could apply it to different surfaces. So essentially you can create like, wood stairs if somebody wants like a particular look or a particular patina, but they may not necessarily have the budget. You can use liquid metal. And it's so if you want, we could talk about that. I have an old client that he's just like a master finisher and I've seen some applications on stairs, liquid metal on stairs.
Yeah, that sounds very interesting.
It's super cool. But again, to me, it's like I think about these are the moments where actually start reinventing yourself and you start coming up with new ways. And listen, I'm doing the same thing in my other business where I'm like 20 years in, I don't want to do what it did before because what got me to 20 years is not going to get me to 40 to 60.
To change and evolve and get
You
better.
got to change and evolve and totally get better. So anyway, I hope that's help. Was that helpful?
Yeah, yeah. I've got 8 notes here that I think all are good, and I'll certainly get back to my team with some of this that I think will help us a lot.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, tell everybody your website and your Instagram so that they can follow your work.
Yeah, if you guys are checking us out, just go to jdstairs.com or whatever the JD Stairs LV or something for the Instagram. You can follow that and kind of we're getting better at posting. Terrible as historically, but we're trying to get better at posting stuff on there so that people can follow it. Again, really servicing a lot of the Las Vegas high-end market, but expanding out to Utah and Arizona now, so a lot of the surrounding states that we can kind of help out as well.
Well, thank you so much, Jonathan, for your time. And I'm glad that we were able to make this conversation happen.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Take care.